Welcome back to the Driveway Beers podcast with Mike and Alex. As always, we appreciate you listening. Please rate us on all the podcast platforms. Like, subscribe, comment, share wherever else you're listening, and enjoy the show. Welcome back to the Driveway Beers podcast. We appreciate you coming back as always. If you could do us a favor right now, before we get into the show, like, subscribe, comment, and share. Comment. Just let us know you're there, or let us know what topic you want us to talk about in the future. You can also text us on Twitter, Instagram. Our DMs are open, as the kids say. Let us know what you want us to talk about. Last week we talked about travel baseball, travel softball at MD Ravens. Or it might be at MD Ravens 1. I'm not really sure which one it is, but he sent me a DM and just said, hey, those are my favorite episodes. Would you guys mind talking about it again? And we did. So if there's something you want us to talk about, some of your favorite episodes, I mean, we got movies, TV shows we haven't talked about in a while. Haven't gave much of an update on the Yukon in a while. Also got an update on the RV stuff that we haven't talked about, although I don't think we've ever talked about the RV in the car. There's a little bit, this topic, I think we were going to talk about some Ukraine versus Russia stuff, just because there's been some weird shifts in that mentality. Also wanted to talk about the GLP-1 drugs. There's been a shift in that as well. So we got a few things we're going to try and get to in this episode. So it might not be one continuous topic, but then again, when have we ever had one continuous topic?
We were talking about fish and swimmers racing, and
we talked about we were going to try and reel in a kid with fishing wire.
Yeah. In a pool, like not weird, but like, well,
that's kind of weird.
Yeah, but not like
you were going to go in a pool. I was talking about us doing it in the ocean or in the bay. Like, yeah. I misunderstood.
Yeah. So for those of you that may have forgotten or didn't listen to the previous episode, it had to do with would it take more force to reel in a smaller, an average sized fish, or a adult or swimmer or high school age swimmer.
I want to thank Adam Chubbuck with TACMD for sponsoring these episodes. Yeah. I don't know how many places are willing to sponsor a show with a topic like that. Yeah. But we want to thank Adam Chubbuck, TACMD.com, TACMD.com. Adam is with Douglas Realty in Pasadena, Maryland. Team Alpha Charlie off of Route 2 in Maryland. Any of your real estate needs, go to TACMD.com, talk to Adam. He will point you in the right direction of what you need to be doing. And likes to sponsor shows where we talk about reining in children with fishing wire.
It sounds so bad when you say it.
It does sound bad, yeah.
It sounds awful, but when you examine it and you realize that it's for science to see if it takes more force to reel in a fish or a swimmer, and my money's on the fish. The fish is going to be harder to bring in.
See, no, I think you were right there. Yeah. I just don't. You made it sound like you're just going to reel in the human like it's nothing.
Yeah, compared to the fish. I mean, anyone who's caught a fish, and like, they're like, man, I got a whale on the other end of this line.
Look, I had a hard time bringing in sunfish. I mean, I'm probably not the best person
spot
out there. Yeah. Obviously, we'll do the first topic. We'll do the weight loss stuff just because there was an interesting move with the GLP-1 drugs. I am currently on Moujaro. I've been on it for about 5 weeks. Dropped about 28 pounds doing that in 5 weeks, which is not horrible. Not as fast as I would like it to come off, but it never is, right? Mm-hmm. A lot less nausea this time than last year when I tried the Ozempic. Like when I took the Ozempic, I was in bed for 3 days. With this, the first night I had some weird kind of feeling, like nausea, some stuff going on. Since that first dose, though, and I'm on the lowest dose, and we don't think we're going to move me off of it because it seems to be working. Mm-hmm. I haven't had the side effects that I had the first time. So if you do have side effects on one, I mean, that put me off of trying a different one for over a year because I was worried about what was going to happen side effect wise. I would say try the Mounjaro or it's tirzepatide. But there was a change for people that couldn't get it through the manufacturers, and for tirzepatide, that's Moujaro and Zepbound, and that's made by Eli Lilly. The FDA has made it so that the compounders can no longer sell the compounds at basically undercutting the on-patent drugs. I never knew how they were getting away with it to begin with, because generally when a drug is in patent form, and I guess the compound, the inactive ingredients get changed to make it so it doesn't infringe on the patent. But essentially, and I don't know the exact ruling, but the FDA made it so that the compounders can no longer ship this stuff out. I do think there was a deal made, though.
Oh, I am convinced that someone was paid off.
Well, but what
can't convince me otherwise.
No, but what I'm saying with the deal is so these drugs at a pharmacy without insurance are like $1,000 for a month.
Yeah, when I tried to get it, it was $1,500.
50, okay. Right now, though, if you go on the Eli Lilly or the Lilly webpage, and this is for anybody can do this. Essentially what you do is you're going to buy it without your insurance plan. They have the Lilly pharmacy. Your doctor sends your prescription to the Lilly direct pharmacy, so they're going to mail it directly to you, just like a compounder would. It's going to be refrigerated and everything. Same dosage, same everything, except they're going to give it to you in the vial instead of the pen. So you're going to have to do all the measuring. Yeah. But the vial itself is only one dose, so it's not like you got to measure it out.
Yeah,
it's what's in there is in there. They give you the exact amount for your dose. It was $350 for a month.
Yeah,
direct from the manufacturer. So I think what they did was they said, "Look, we want you to crack down on this," and I think the FDA said, "Well, you need to cut the fucking price."
Yeah,
because you're trying to charge, 3x or 5x what the compounders are charging, and you can't leave all these people without the drug because they can't afford it.
Yeah.
Which sounds like drug price negotiation.
It does a little bit sound like.
To me, though, think about this. They were charging you $1,500 for this drug for a month's supply. Now, don't get me wrong. If you up the dose, it goes up from $350 to $400. So it's not like it stays the same.
Yeah.
But even, let's say you were at the $400 dose and it cost you $1,500. That's 3.5 times the cost.
Yeah.
If I went to the pharmacy, if Lilly is willing to accept $400 for this drug, where's the extra $1,000 or $1,100 of cost coming from?
Yeah.
So, to me, this is like the bigger indication of the drug industry problem.
Yeah, and at $400, they're still raking in money hand over fist.
Well, they're bringing in all the people that were buying it from Compound. So basically, they're increasing the sales volume.
Yeah.
So they can sell it for less. Well, imagine if you would have put it at that price to begin with, though. But now think about it. Even at that price, if I still go to CVS, it's still $1,500.
Correct.
Lilly's willing to take $400 if I go direct. Now, only people that go directly to the website and click on a few different buttons here will find that this exists.
Right.
I'm telling you, if you were on Mounjaro or Zepbound, they've got the same deal for both drugs. If your doctor is willing to prescribe it, you don't need prior authorization. You don't need to go to your insurance company to see if they approve it. They will sell it to you. And I'm just going to use the Zepbound one. 2.5 milligrams is $350 for a month. That's 4 shots.
Okay.
A month. The 5 milligram is $400. And I believe the 7.5 is also $400.
Okay.
I think if once you go up to 10, I think that's where it goes up to $450. That's still $1,000 less
than what they want to charge me for.
Yes.
And here's the thing. So, what insurance company is CVS owned by?
CVS Caremark is the pharmacy benefit manager. Our insurance uses them as the pharmacy benefit manager. So therefore, you have to go to CVS to get the full benefit.
Yeah. So if you have CVS, so your insurance company, they're the pharmacy benefit, and the quotes, it's all bullshit.
Right.
So essentially, they're just taking that extra $1,000 as profit for themselves.
Yes.
Now, I use an independent for my maintenance, my blood pressure meds and stuff, I use Express Scripts, which is the pharmacy benefit manager for Cigna.
Yep.
But I'm getting this stuff, and I love my local pharmacy. They're great. However, I don't love them enough to spend, like, my blood pressure meds are essentially free from Express Scripts, where if I go to the pharmacy, I have to pay $10 or whatever. So I don't love them that much. But I'm able to get a 90-day supply from Express Scripts rather than just 30 from the pharmacy. So I'm getting 90 days for nothing, whereas the other thing would have cost me $60 for 3 months. So it's a convenience, money, all this other stuff. So I have no problem. Now if I need a one-off antibiotic or something, I'll just go to and for my TRT, I still go to my local pharmacy for that. But for the most part, I do. I go through our pharmacy benefit manager.
Right.
But when I put it through there, when my doctor tried to put me on it as pre-diabetic with other conditions, $1,500. So they're paying Eli Lilly probably less than $400 because they're probably paying them two. Yeah. And then they're pocketing the $1,300 in profit.
Yep.
And they negotiated that for me. Yep. I mean, you negotiate. Thank you so much for negotiating that for me. I'm so grateful for you, corporate overlords. So I just, it just really shows what a scam it is.
So there's a website out there called forestparkpharmacy.com. And this guy also has an Instagram page. He's the owner of Forest Park Pharmacy. And essentially what every once in a while, he'll go on there and he'll name a drug. He'll tell you how much he charges his customers without insurance.
Mm-hmm.
He says, if a customer goes into his pharmacy and says they have insurance, he has to charge them the insurance rate. He can't give them the non-insured rate, even if the drug isn't covered by their insurance.
Mm-hmm.
How fucked up is that?
Yeah.
Now, everyone knows who Mark Cuban is, right? So Mark Cuban started something called Cost Plus Drugs, I believe. Essentially, what these people are trying to do is they're trying to eliminate the pharmacy benefit manager.
Mm-hmm.
But here's the thing. So for me, on a maintenance drug like a Torvastatin, I can get my 90-day supply for $5 because my insurance company covers it. If I go through CVS, I get it for $5 for a 90-day supply, or maybe it's like $7.50 or whatever. That is still going to be cheaper than if I go to like a Cost Plus pharmacy or my local pharmacy. They're going to charge me probably $10.
Mm-hmm.
It's not going to be that much more because, again, generic drug, off-brand, whatever. The problem is with a lot of these companies is they have to adhere to certain rules. If this guy sells you a drug at the non-insured price and you told him you're insured, he risks the drug supplier not supplying him the drug anymore.
Yeah.
At all. I feel like there's a big fuckery game going on behind the scenes that's making a lot of people rich and fucking over people.
Yeah.
That we're not really that privy to.
Right.
I think it goes so much deeper than even what I just said. And that's just me doing a quick search about the drugs, right? And what he does, he tells you what Medicare pays for the drug, and then says what he could charge you if you weren't insured.
Right.
And basically his point is he's saying Medicare and Medicaid are overpaying by this amount of dollars. And he listed one drug and it was literally over $1 billion a year that Medicaid overpays for these drugs. And the weird thing is I know Bernie Sanders was out there saying, well, I finally got it so that Medicare and Medicaid could negotiate the price of drugs. Okay, whoever the negotiator was apparently sucks ass at it.
He needs to get fired.
Yeah. Is it less than the exorbitant amount we paid before? Maybe. Is it still 10x what we should be paying? Yes.
Yeah.
What the... And it's because some asshole's getting rich off of this shit.
Yeah.
And it's not And everyone's like, well, Medicare is great. We need Medicare for all. No, we don't. And this is like, you and I have talked about this. We are both single-payer healthcare fans. We have no faith in the federal government to run that shit, though, because of this.
Yeah, because they're just completely captured.
Yeah.
And whenever the government gets involved in something, so say childcare is super expensive. So the government says, oh, we're going to go and we're going to provide each family with $2,000 a month for childcare for their kids. All of the childcare providers are going to raise their price to $2,000. If they were paying $1,500, it's now $2,000. But if you don't qualify for that program, now you're paying $2,000. It's driving the price up.
Right.
Student loans are another great example of it, where you take these universities. I think Duke University is like $92,000 a year to go there.
It's crazy.
Because, I want to go to Duke because I want to be a Blue Devil, and Mike Krzyzewski, and Duke's a good school. I'm not trying to shit on Duke.
Right.
But is it $92,000 a year good?
No.
Is it $500,000 for a 4-year degree good?
No.
So, but they know that there's a place where these kids can get unquestioned loans for it. Loans that even that don't get discharged until death. People are getting their Social Security docked for student loan payments. So, like, it drove the cost up. And, I'd love to have a single payer healthcare option, but it can't be managed correctly because it's completely bought and sold by the people that are making the most money off of it.
So I was ready to fact check you. Like, oh man, you're fucking lying. I literally just typed in Duke University annual tuition. Now the tuition itself, $66,325.
Right.
Annual. Then you add in the estimated fees, $2,814. You want to live on campus? $10,254. Now add in your food plan, your meal plan, $9,544. Total cost of attendance, $86,886. You were off by about $3,200.
Yeah.
How dare you, sir?
Right. Oh, I was being
guilty as charged. Think about that.
Yeah.
$86,000.
Yeah.
For 1 year.
Right.
What the fuck? That's it's almost 400 fucking grand.
Oh yeah.
Maybe 385,000.
Yeah, and say you have your
what the shit?
Right. So then your kid goes there and F's off for a year. So now he's there for 5 years, and it just became 400 grand. So
I'm going to do a search, and I'm going to hate myself for it. What is the annual tuition University of Maryland in state? Sweet Jesus, I don't want to hit the button. Okay, all right now. This isn't so bad. If you're out of state, you're fucked, by the way. In-state tuition and fees, $11,808.
Okay.
For University of Maryland. That's a lot less than I thought it was going to be.
Yeah.
That food and housing, they say, is about $16,000, so you could probably get away with, $28,000. Out-of-state tuition and fees, though, $41,186.
Yeah.
That's 30 grand more than the in-state
and then
tuition.
when you go there,
which I guess is the point of a state university, right? Yeah. Okay. That's actually, I am actually surprised now.
I don't understand people that go to out-of-state state schools. Unless it's something very specific or you're getting a scholarship to go there.
Yeah.
But, if you're going to go to a big state university and you live here, just go to University of Maryland. Why would you go to NC State? I want to be a wolf pack.
I'll be honest with you, $26,000, and I know that's a lot of money, but when I went to school, the annual tuition was like $21,000 with the tuition and room and board and everything.
Yeah.
And I graduated in 2001. So that's really, now don't get me wrong, I went to a small private Catholic university. I didn't go to an in-state school. So I can't really compare, or I'm not comparing oranges to oranges, but let's say if my kid eventually goes to school there, and by then it's like $29,000 with some inflation there.
Yep.
For them to only pay about $9,000 more than what I paid 40 years later, I don't think is horrible. So, I mean, I was ready and set to just rail on the university system. But if it's in state, that's really not bad. And I think like we also have Salisbury, Towson. Towson's a state school too.
Yep,
UMBC. It's probably less.
Yeah. There's Frostburg. There's also there's
Southern Maryland,
UMES, and then Bowie State, which are all they're HBCUs, but good schools, and they're both in the University of Maryland system. So, and then also the nice thing about you go and you take the classes at ACC, at the community college, they all transfer over without a problem. In fact, if you're planning on going to one of those schools and you're saying, hey, this is my major, they'll set you up so your transition's seamless. You're just going, you're entering in at Towson as a junior with your 2 years already done.
Yeah.
It's not like when I transferred and like, and schools are crafty. We'll take all your transfer credits as electives. They don't tell you that part.
Right.
So I went in as a junior, but I had to take an entire another year over again because those classes I'd taken transferred as electives.
Yeah.
So, the better thing, but what are you getting out of that? And when you think at University of Maryland, 11,000, and then the room and board is the expensive piece for us where we live, like, okay, so
that's true. So the room and board 16, the tuition's 11,800.
Yeah.
So it's more for the food. That's food and housing though.
Yeah.
So I mean, I'm actually pretty impressed with that.
Yeah.
So like I was ready to just nail the state of Maryland to the ground.
Yeah.
That's not bad,
no,
in my opinion. And the fact that you can go to another state school, like I bet you Towson's probably a little bit cheaper. I mean, my wife graduated from Towson, so I think Towson's a great option. I was never a big school person. So like for people that don't want that big school feel, Towson's smaller.
Yeah.
It won't be the big sports atmosphere.
Yeah. But they have all the sports.
They do have all the sports though.
Yeah. If you're a lacrosse guy, it's Division I. So like,
I mean, I think their football is Division I, the FBS or whatever the second tier is. I mean, and UMBC though is still Division I as well, but I don't think they have football. But I mean, if you don't need the big sports atmosphere, and you do want to be like, if you want to go with the bigger fish in a small pond kind of atmosphere, smaller like. That, I did not want a big school. I didn't want to get lost. I wanted to have like that communal feel to it, right? But to get that for under, I mean, $27,000 in this environment or in this day and age, I don't think that's that horrible.
Yeah.
I mean, if you can get out of there at $100,000 in debt, let's say you finance the whole thing. I mean, it still sounds crazy when you put it in those kind of terms, right? I mean, if $120,000 is your final total, that's a lot of money, but it's not 400 something thousand from Duke.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So, I mean,
or you would say, hey, kid, go there and commute, and I'll buy you a $50,000 car. Like, you're still, because 16 times 4 is 64,000. So
I will say, like, there is something to be said for the on-campus.
Oh, there is, yeah.
I'm not living on your own, living amongst your peers, learning how to force yourself into some responsibility on your own. Now, my wife, when she went to school, she lived at home for the first few years. Me, I went straight into the dorms.
Yeah.
You definitely. You learn how to live alone.
Yeah.
Now, don't get me wrong, you're still on your parents' payroll for the most part, but
yeah, you learn how to, especially when you live off campus. Yeah. And a lot of people, they find that living off campus is actually cheaper than
it was
living on.
I did that 1 year.
I moved off campus, and then it was like, well, now me and my 4 roommates got to like, okay, who's got the cable bill? Who has the you have to pay the bills, and it's how to. Like, the laundry just doesn't get done on its own. There's not some fairy that comes down here and does my laundry for me. So there are things you have to do that work out well for you. So life lessons. But again, I wouldn't make that to make or break. I'm a big community college fan. I'm a big trade school fan, to be honest with you. But I see nothing wrong with going to community college for a year or two and getting those basic courses out of the way. English 101 is the same at ACC that it is at Harvard. It's the same exact class. It's not like, oh, you took your English 101. It all transfers. It's all the same stuff. Why do it at $1,000 a credit hour? You can do it for $100 a credit hour.
I took 2 classes at the community college because I couldn't pass them at my school, and the credits transferred over.
Yeah.
Did I feel like I got a worse class than I would have at my school? No. I just got a less pretentious teacher.
Yeah.
Who wasn't such a dick about it.
Right.
And I passed both of them.
Yeah.
Ass.
Yeah.
If you're listening, fuck you. I don't even know who I had.
Right.
But if you're listening, made it. Fuck you. So in a couple episodes ago, we kind of were railing on Maryland about being an expensive place to live, and now at this point, I'm like, oh, maybe the education, they're doing it right.
Yeah.
Up at the higher education, way to go, Maryland. So, just because we don't like one thing doesn't mean we don't like everything.
Right.
I do wish my fucking utility bill would go the fuck back down.
I'm about to start burning candles.
Well, it looks like there's another tax increase coming too. It's just like, fuck, man.
Yeah, the business to business tax they want to do.
Yeah,
which I don't quite understand. Is that
so? Essentially, if you provide a service if you're a plumber, the only thing that's taxable are the parts that you supply, not the labor. So the customer doesn't pay tax on the labor, like sales and use tax. Mm-hmm. You don't pay it on the labor. Like if he provides you a new blower motor, you pay tax on the blower motor.
Okay.
But you don't pay tax on the labor to install the blower motor. Mm-hmm. Well, with this, you would have to pay tax on the labor too. Now, everyone knows labor is the bigger expense.
Yeah.
Well, now you tag on another 6% to that cost. Mm-hmm. And then, businesses have to then set up accounts to pay that tax, right? It's going to add more cost to the businesses, which is going to add more cost to the labor, which is going to add, it adds to the tax revenue. But it's like, look, man, you had, like, what was it, a $6 billion surplus?
Yeah.
What did you do with it?
Yeah.
And, like, I think that's what a lot of people are asking right now. Like, I think people are starting to realize that Maryland is with a lot of the regulations and other things, like, they are essentially adopting California policies in Maryland. Mm-hmm. And I don't think a lot of people realize that. Like, right now, by 2035, Maryland isn't supposed to sell internal combustion engines.
Yeah. Which, okay, California can't keep the lights on now.
Right.
They have rolling brownouts in California. Let's take the entire transportation infrastructure and put it on that grid. Like, what do they they think the sunshine and wind blowing is going to?
Well, no, that's not, and so one of the other, and this is going to kind of move a little bit away, but one of the other industries that needs a lot of power is the data center industry.
Right.
And we kind of talked about this, I want to say it was like a month or so ago. They're deactivated nuclear plants that they had taken offline. But private companies are paying these utility companies to do it, and they're buying all the energy from it. So these nuclear power plants that are coming back online, they're not being used to power homes. They're being used, all of the energy is being purchased because energy is a commodity. They're being purchased by like companies like Microsoft and Google. And what they're doing is they're putting the data center right near the nuclear power plant so that there isn't a large transmission. Mm-hmm. There isn't a large transmission line to be put in. They put these, because generally nuclear power plants aren't near a bunch of stuff.
Right.
So you have the space to put a data center there. And some of them are being put elsewhere. But my point is, they're reactivating the nuclear power plant, but all the energy being generated from the nuclear power plant is going to the data center. But in Maryland, they're saying a certain percentage of the energy provided by these providers has to be clean energy. And nuclear is not one of those clean energies. In my opinion, I think what these states have to do is, if these companies can get approval to get these nuclear generators turned back on, states need to turn them back on for their own use.
Yeah.
Like, why are you just giving it away to these power and utility companies who have a monopoly in your state? Like Constellation Energy and PG&E, I believe, have the monopoly in Maryland in their various areas.
Yeah, I think most of Maryland is either between BGE and Pepco.
Pepco, sorry.
So
it's like, well, why can't and Constellation owns BG&E, why can't we get a power plant turned back on for the state of Maryland and use that as clean energy and actually drive our energy costs down rather than using the wind farms and the solar farms, which push our energy up? And I mean, we talked about this, I think, years ago. The clean energy thing should be all encompassing.
Right.
Use solar, use wind, but nuclear needs to be a part of that.
Absolutely.
It is one of the cleanest energies out there. And people, well, what about the nuclear waste? Okay, in all of the years that we've had nuclear energy, all of the nuclear waste, I believe it fills 3 football fields.
Yeah, it would make a pile that would take up the footprint of a football field, but be 6 or 9 feet high. I forget what. So when you think of that, you're like, wow, all that energy came from that. Right. Now in France is almost all nuclear.
Yep.
And now I think, of course, there's a conspiracy with the coal and oil companies, funding all the hippies protesting the nuclear plants to prevent them from going online because then coal's no longer king and all this other stuff. So, my whole thing with the climate's become a religion for these people.
Yep.
And clean air and water is important for everybody. So let's make it, a multifaceted approach to it. So let's use the best options we have now, which are probably natural gas, burns really clean. We have a shitload of it, and nuclear. That's not green.
Well, the problem with natural gas is the way you have to get it out of the ground. Mm-hmm. It's very water intensive. Yeah. And it also has the capability of contaminating groundwater. Now, I've got natural gas in my house. I think it's great.
Yeah. I wish I had gas. But I think natural gas kind of stops here. Like deeper in the neighborhood, we don't have it.
Correct. I would say this though. And I know it wouldn't get down to this level. So this is a pure hypothetical, but let's say they put another nuclear plant on and I could power my standby generator with nuclear power versus the natural gas. I would. Mm-hmm. It would be cheaper and it would have more of an environmental impact to not be fracking in the ground for the natural gas. Mm-hmm. I mean, water is a commodity at this point. Do we really need to be using clean, fresh water that we can't reuse for the purpose of this? It goes into a whole other topic of it, right? My thing is this. Nuclear is safe if you do it properly.
Yeah. I mean, the Navy, how many nuclear reactors does the Navy have all over the world in warships?
Yeah.
And how many meltdowns have there been in U.S. naval vessels?
None that I know of.
Right.
No, I mean, have there been mishaps with nuclear? Yes. Yeah. Have they been avoidable? Yes. Mm-hmm. Like there's a mini series on HBO called Chernobyl, and it essentially walks through what happened there, and that was a man-made issue. Like they didn't follow certain protocols.
Yeah.
To stop the issue. 3 Mile Island, same thing. Fukushima was different.
That was a natural disaster. Yeah.
And why on earth you would put a nuclear power plant on an earthquake fault line makes no sense. Or why would you put it somewhere where a tidal wave could take it out? Maybe we don't put it there. Just saying. But in our case, the Midwest is generally climate neutral, natural disaster neutral. The Northeast, fairly neutral. Like we don't get earthquakes. I mean, we get some hurricanes and stuff, but a nuclear power plant can sustain a tornado and other or you can make it so it sustains that and stuff like that. We have the capacity to do this properly. I think you're right. I think the coal industry, I think the natural gas industry, there's so much lobbying. It's kind of like when we were talking about the drug industry. There's so much money in these things, like billions upon trillions of dollars, that for normal people like us to say, oh, it's easy. Why don't we just do the right thing? Well, that's when you've got all these politicians who aren't doing the right thing because they're being paid not to do the right thing.
Correct.
And I do find it funny, and this is going to lead into this next portion of it, which was probably the main topic of this episode to begin with. So, AOC and Bernie are out on this Fight the Oligarchy campaign.
Okay.
They're out there, oh, Elon Musk is the worst. The richest people are dictating the country. And he's right. He's not wrong. But the problem is that there's another set of oligarchs funding all of the Democrats.
Right.
There's oligarchs funding the Republicans. There's oligarchs funding
both.
The MAGA people.
Right.
There's oligarchs funding. They're funding everybody so that when they want something done, they don't even have to make an appointment. They can walk right in. Like, for example, the Soroses. Soros. Everyone just goes to the Soroses. Okay. The Soroses, and I'm going to refer more to Alex than to George now, because Alex is more of the political wing of him now. He has access to every single senator and congressman currently. He's made more visits to the White House than any other lobby group. And it is backed up by the White House registry. Anyone who visits the White House has to sign in. His name is listed more than any other lobby group. And make no mistake about it, he is a lobby group all unto himself. They have money on top of money on top of money. Not only that, they fund other political action campaigns. Like there's one called J Street.
Okay.
And it's for pro-Israel stuff. And look, I'm in favor of what J Street wants to do. But at the end of the day, it's still an oligarch funding this super PAC and other super PACs to fund politicians. He still has his tentacles in everything. Just like Jeff Bezos does. Bill Gates does.
Yep.
Larry Ellison. Reid Hoffman. Like, these are all billionaires. And there's a whole bunch I'm not even naming. Because I don't know their names.
Right.
Because they stay the fuck out of the limelight. Because they can get more. You can get more done in the dark than you can in the light.
Sure.
And everyone's like, well, Elon's standing in the White House. Yeah, at least he's doing it in front of your face. People that don't think Sheldon Adelson or Miriam Adelson exist. Like, you want to get into some real weird shit? Miriam Adelson bought a portion of the Dallas Mavericks from Mark Cuban. Now, Mark Cuban is still a minority owner. Miriam Adelson wants nothing to do with basketball. She wants the land. She wants to build the complex for the new Dallas Mavericks stadium. And she wants the land around it so she can bring gambling to Dallas. Miriam Adelson and Sheldon Adelson are Las Vegas casino titans. Like, huge time. Like, big into the casino world. They want to bring gambling to Dallas and Texas in general. And there's a big fight against that right now. She's thinking that as a majority owner of the Dallas Mavericks, what she's going to do is she's going to try and pressure the state of Texas and the city of Dallas by saying, I'm going to move the Dallas Mavericks out of Texas if you don't do this. They're probably going to cave. They're probably going to allow gambling. Now, it might be in a smaller form, but that's how it always starts.
Yeah. Just like in Maryland, it started with slots.
Right. Well, and they're going to approve this land purchase for the Dallas Mavericks. She's probably going to sell her ownership stake in the Mavericks back to Mark Cuban. But she's going to retain the ownership of the land. She's going to be able to build her casino on the land just outside the stadium.
Correct.
She's going to be able to build up the restaurants, the hotels, everything. So look, if you don't just look into it, look at what Jerry Jones did with Jerry World in Dallas. Mm-hmm. Now, he didn't want to do. He's not a gambling man.
Yeah.
But in their stadium, all around it, he owns everything. So he's making the hotel revenue. He's making the restaurant revenue. He's making it an event. You go down to a Dallas Cowboy stadium. You fly in to see the Cowboys. You're staying in the hotels just outside the stadium. You're eating at all the restaurants outside. You're going to the shows outside. He's making money off of all your entire week-long trip to go see the Cowboys.
Yeah, so it's not like back in the day where it was just, you'd make money on the parking and concessions. It's you're making money on that still.
Yep.
But now you're making money. And here's the thing, they're not parking their car at the parking lot. Okay, well, they're staying in the hotel at $800 a night.
Right. So instead of paying $10 to park there for a couple hours, they're paying $100 a night staying for 3 days. That's $300 for the room. They're going to eat at the restaurants. Markups are insane.
Yep.
They're gonna go take in a show. They're staying for 3-4 days to go see.
And people are going to make an event out of it. I know a bunch of Cowboy fans, and they'll go down there just to see a regular season game. They'll fly down. And then, not to mention that, you have Redskin or Eagle or Giants fans that'll go down there.
Yes.
So now you're making money off all the teams, the hotel stay, all this stuff. So rather than just making money for the 4 hours long that the football game is, you're making money for the 48 hours surrounding it.
And then when you go to sell it, you sell all of it.
Mm-hmm.
So now, teams were topping out. You could buy a team for $2 billion. Now you're selling that $2 billion team for $10 billion, $20 billion. So these guys that bought the Carolina Panthers for under $1 billion, or just that $2 billion, whatever the sale price of the Panthers was, they're going to do this whole real estate transaction. Then they're going to turn around. And the guy that bought him was an investment banker, the guy named David Tepper. Mm-hmm. He came from the finance and insurance world. You think he's just that big of a fan?
He's a Carolina Panthers fan for life.
No, he's going to build the shit out of it.
Well, and the other thing that bothers me is they're going to use public funds to build these stadiums.
Yeah. And if you don't,
we're leaving.
Yeah.
So
San Antonio doesn't have a team. We can go to San Antonio.
So the Capitals were talking about moving to Northern Virginia, and they were holding the district by the Short and Curlies, and they were going to move to Arlington or Alexandria and build one of those huge complexes. Now they came to an agreement, and I think Ted Leonsis is actually, who's the majority owner of the Capitals and the Wizards. I think he's a good guy, and I think he really does like the city and likes the teams, and I don't think he likes the Wizards, but nobody does. The Capitals are the favorite there, but. So they didn't do it. But when they were talking about doing it, I was like, if they do it, and I was talking to one of my oldest friends, I was like, we're both huge Caps fans. I was like, do I go Penguins or Flyers? He's like, what are you talking about? I said, I can't support this team if they do this. Are we going Penguins or Flyers? Which is the bigger FU to them for doing this?
Well, and then you've got the empty stadium down in D.C. Mm-hmm. No one's going to draw there.
Yeah.
But the place where they could go, and I think it would keep the fan base, is the old RFK Stadium.
Yeah.
Drop that, put a basketball, hockey stadium there, and all the land around it. Mm-hmm. It's accessible from New Carrollton Station for the most part. You can run shuttle buses from New Carrollton. So
there's a stadium armory. There's already a metro station there.
Yeah.
Who is there?
Where did the Capitals play before that?
The Capitals played in Landover.
Okay, so that's similar.
Yeah. So location. Landover. It was a suburb. So there was a time, I guess, back in the 70s where teams were because 70s, 80s downtown areas were not nice.
Especially that area. That's Chinatown. I worked down there when Chinatown was still Chinatown.
Yeah.
We knew after 7, we couldn't leave after 7.
Yeah, it was all the prostitutes and everyone were out. So the Capitals moved. So when Abe Pollin bought he owned it was the Baltimore Bullets, and he moved the Bullets. He wanted to build an arena in Landover. He started the Washington Capitals, so there'd be something going on there more often. The Capitals were terrible. The arena was a dump. Well, when I tore it down, it was a dump. I actually liked it because it was really easy to get to.
That's why I liked it.
It's right off the Beltway. Now there's a hospital there, but then there was a push. Everyone was moving downtown, and that kind of started with. They say that Camden Yards really influenced a lot of Major League Baseball stadiums, which it did. Mm-hmm. But it also was the push to move these stadiums back into the cities.
Yeah.
So, because prior to that, the O's played at Memorial Stadium, which was a dump, and it was in the middle of the hood. Mm-hmm. A lot of these teams played in these awful multi-use concrete baseball, football, like
Yeah.
they're the just awful places to watch. I watched the Nats game at RFK before they built Nats Park. Mm-hmm. It is a terrible place to watch a baseball game.
Yep.
So, but Nats Park, when they built Nats Park, there was nothing there. And now there's all kinds of stuff to do down there. So, but the difference is it's not the cities owning this stuff. It's not this public money's going in to fund it.
Yeah.
They're getting huge tax breaks and all this stuff to build it. But there's we're going to bring jobs in. What? Seasonal, temporary, minimum wage jobs?
Restaurant workers.
Yeah.
Well, their thing is, well, the city's going to get money off of ticket sales, the tax on ticket sales, the tax on the food and the vendors,
the hotel
inside,
tax, all that stuff.
Yeah. And then you're going to get more restaurants that come up around it. Mm-hmm. And I mean, the difference now is that the owners want all that revenue.
Right.
They're still look. You can still take the taxes, but we want to put a new stadium in the middle of nowhere so we can own all the land around it. Mm-hmm. And I mean, it's been going on for the longest time. People just didn't realize. I mean, when the Dodgers went out from Brooklyn to L.A., that was one of the reasons why they bought Chavez Ravine, because it was a big open space. They had plans to do future development. I don't think they ever did, though. Mm-hmm. I really don't know. I don't even know if they still play at Chavez Ravine, but I'm pretty sure they do, though. But that was the idea behind it.
And it's not so like anyone who's been to MGM in. They call it National Harbor, Maryland, which it's not. It's really Oxon Hill. But that whole National Harbor area is all owned by one company. When you drive onto it, it's actually private property you're driving onto. Mm-hmm. But it looks like a downtown city area.
It's very nice.
And the one company, Gaylord owns the Gaylord, mm-hmm. but the real estate developer owns everything around it.
Well, I think, isn't it MGM that owns the rest of it?
And then MGM owns everything up by the casino. So it's this.
So I thought MGM was the developer of all.
No, the MGM just has that one section. The other part is another company.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I mean they're building housing there too.
Sure. Yeah.
They're trying to make it into it reminds me of like a town center idea.
Yeah.
Where you got the huge hotel, all the restaurants, all the stores, and then we're building these condos and these townhouses, and they're building that up. Now, it's taken a long time for them to build the housing, though.
Yeah.
And there's still a bunch of space there. I don't know how many people bought it.
So there's a bunch of space. The problem is they're limited because the area surrounding it is all just regular neighborhoods owned by individual homeowners. So if they want to expand past it, they'd have to start buying those individually, which now granted, I'm sure
it's cut off though, right? Like I don't think there's only really one way in and out.
There's for the general public there is only one way to get in there. Yeah. It's not like you can approach it, which makes it an easy to control access.
Right. Well, it's how they kind of made it safer.
Yeah.
Right.
And it's bordered by the water on one side, so no one's coming in from there unless you have a boat.
They're storming the land,
right? Normandy invasion, but. It's nice, but it just has this contrived feel to it, because it's not natural, because it was planned.
Right.
So it has the feel of being in a small downtown area.
Yep.
Because there's big buildings towering up above you, and there's people around, and the traffic's congested. I'm pretty sure the traffic's congested by design to give it that feel, but everything just feels fake.
And because it kind of is. And most people park.
Yeah.
And then they walk the whole thing. Mm-hmm. But I mean, I kind of like it. I'm a big fan of going to the Gaylord. They usually have some events. Like they have the ice show there every year.
They have the dinosaur thing.
Yeah.
They'll do MGM actually has some pretty good shows that come through there.
Yeah. And according to my aunt, they have one of the best sports books.
Oh.
As far as atmosphere goes.
Okay.
She says it's very comfortable. They bring the food to it's very service oriented. Mm-hmm. So if you want to go gamble, you can just go there, pull up a comfortable chair, and you're chilling watching everything.
Now, the one thing they don't do there are comps, because the state has a law. So, people go to Vegas, as long as you're putting money into a slot machine, they'll bring you drinks. Yep. They don't do that there. You got to pay. You're paying the full till boogie. Mm. So, but now that place, I believe there's tax breaks and stuff, but I don't think there was any sort of public funds that went in to build it.
Yeah.
That's the problem I have with the stadiums is these big owners going to say, you build me a new stadium or I'm moving.
Yeah.
Well, but then, we built two stadiums in Maryland. We built RFK and M&T Bank. Not RFK. I'm sorry. FedEx Field. And then Camden Yards too.
Yeah.
That's why it's Oriole Park at Camden Yards, because there was a fight over what they're going to name it.
Yep.
So.
Well, and they're not. I don't think they're allowed to sell naming rights, or are they?
M&T Bank, yes, because it used to be, what was it called before? PSI Net?
Something like that.
And then it switched to M&T.
But it wasn't PNC? I don't know. Doesn't matter.
PNC Park is in Pittsburgh.
Right. I thought they had PNC here before Pittsburgh was built, but
unless it was first.
I'm probably wrong.
Yeah. So anyway, the public money going into it.
Yeah.
Now, Oriole Park is not. I don't think the name will ever change. I don't think it'll ever be, I
hate when people call it Opacey.
Yeah, stop being lazy.
Just call it Camden Yards.
That's what I call it.
Yeah, that's what I call it. Like, it's Opacey. No, fucker, it's Camden Yards. Yeah. Shut up.
I would have a problem if people like hashtag it that way, or if they type it that way.
I don't need the word.
Don't verbalize it.
I don't need Oriole Park in the name. I know the Orioles play at Camden Yards. Mm-hmm. It's implied. You don't need to say Oriole Park at Camden Yards is now redundant.
Right.
Camden Yards, in the back of my Orioles play there. I got it.
It's like when you deal with positive and negative numbers. You don't have to put plus 10. If it's just 10, it's plus 10.
It's kind of
negative differentiates it.
Like, it doesn't need to be Ravens Field at M&T Bank Stadium. I know the bank is where the Ravens play. We got to stop. I don't need all the names in this shit.
Yeah.
I get it. I know the Ravens play at the bank, and I know the bank means M&T Bank.
Yeah.
I know that the Orioles play at Camden Yards. I don't need Oriole Park at Camden Yards, fuckers.
Yeah.
Stop it.
And I still call, which is now Northwest Stadium, I still call it FedEx. Because it's been FedEx forever.
Honest to God, dude, if the fact that you just told me the name, I thought it was FedEx.
Right. No, it's Northwest. And before that, it was Jack Kent Cooke Stadium.
I did know that, yeah. Before the naming rights, all that shit came out. Jack Kent Cooke, one of the worst human beings on earth, though, by the way.
Yeah.
Yeah. Don't look into that guy.
Isn't that the one that Jerry Buss bought the...
Yeah, he bought the Lakers from him. He seemed like a fucking asshole. They had the perfect actor for that, by the way. I believe it was Shooter McGavin.
Yeah.
I believe he was Jack Kent Cooke.
Yeah, he was a huge... But then...
That guy plays a great villain.
Yeah. He's that guy. You don't know, you're like, what's that guy? You know that guy that was in that movie?
He's apparently like the super nice dude, though. He's kind of like the kid who played Draco Malfoy, who apparently is like a super nice dude. Mm-hmm. Tom something. He's apparently a super nice dude. He just did a really good job playing an asshole. All right, we're going to hit pause right here. When we recorded this episode, it went really long. So what we're going to do is this is going to end up being part 1. And we are going to have part 2 be next week, where we finish the conversation out. We want to thank Adam Chubbuck with TACMD.com. That's TACMD.com. Want to thank Adam for sponsoring these episodes. This is the first time we've done a part 1 and a part 2. So we hope that you stick around next week when we release part 2 of this conversation.